This housefly-sized frog is the world's smallest vertebrate by National Geographic Society. Image 1, the world's smallest frog. Pedophrine amanuensis sits on a human hand. Photo by iStock Getty Images Plus. A vertebrate is any animal with a backbone. The world's smallest known vertebrate was found in 2010. It is a tiny frog the size of a housefly. The frog species is called Pedophrine amanuensis. It is 7.7 millimeters long. That is just a little bigger than a pencil eraser. The scientists found the frog in Papua New Guinea. This small island country sits north of Australia. Tiny frogs eat tiny food. I think it's amazing that they're continuing to find smaller and smaller frogs, said Robin Moore. He is a scientist who studies amphibians. Amphibians are a kind of vertebrate. They live part of their lives on land. They spend the other part of their lives in the water. Frogs and toads are amphibians. So are salamanders and newts. It's clear that these frogs have adapted over time, Moore said. They have filled a gap in the food chain. The small frogs can eat tiny animals, such as mites. Mites are invertebrates. That means they do not have a backbone. Bigger predators ignore these tiny invertebrates, said Christopher Austin. He is a biologist at Louisiana State University. The frogs do not have to fight with other animals for food. They can snack on as many mites as they want. All species related to Pedophrine amanuensis are tiny. They live on New Guinea's rainforest floor. They hide in the leaves that fall to the ground. Scientists had a hard time finding the frogs. Scientists find the tiny animals by listening for their calls. They try to locate the sources of the sounds. This is not too easy. The frogs' calls are very high-pitched. That makes them especially hard for humans to hear. Austin tried 4 times to find the frogs by sound. He had no luck, so he gave up. Instead, he grabbed a big handful of leaves and put them in a plastic bag. The scientists then combed through the contents. Finally, they were lucky. They saw something tiny hop off one of the leaves, Austin said. It is hard to see the frog's skin patterns just by using your eyes. They are too small. Instead, Austin took pictures and then zoomed in. He used a digital camera like a microscope. Photographing the amphibians was hard too. Sometimes they hopped away before Austin could take a picture. The frogs are good jumpers, says Austin. They can jump 30 times the length of their bodies. Regular-sized frogs evolved. Austin and his team also looked at other tiny frogs around the globe. They compared the frogs' genetics. Genes are passed from parent to children. They tell the body how to grow and work. Genes can show scientists how different species are related. The scientists could see how the frogs had evolved over very long periods of time. The team found that small frogs evolved from regular-sized frogs. Tiny frogs are not strange animals, the scientists said. They play an important role in their environments. Number 1. Read the section, Tiny Frogs Eat Tiny Food. Select the sentence from the section that explains why Pedophrine amanuensis have an easy time eating mites. A. They spend the other part of their lives in the water. B. Bigger predators ignore these tiny invertebrates, said Christopher Austin. C. All species related to Pedophrine amanuensis are tiny. D. They hide in the leaves that fall to the ground. Number 2. Which question is answered in section Scientists had a hard time finding the frogs? A. What is the name of the new tiny frog species? B. How many types of tiny frogs live in the rainforest? C. Why did scientists take pictures of the tiny frogs? D. What country were the tiny frogs discovered in? Number 3. Read the following sentence from the section, Regular-sized frogs evolved. Austin and his team also looked at other tiny frogs around the globe. Which word could replace globe without changing the meaning of the sentence? A. Map. B. World. C, sphere, D, country. Number 4. Read the selection below from the section Tiny Frogs Eat Tiny Food. It's clear that these frogs have adapted over time, Moore said. They have filled a gap in the food chain. What does the word gap mean? A hole, B, a split, C, a snack, D, a pause.